Hello, and welcome to the recording of the Active Classrooms training. My name is Brad Brummel. I'm the coordinator of health and physical education for Springfield Public Schools, and I'm part of the learning support team. And I am excited to bring to you the recording from the Active Classroom training, such a powerful training to empower your classroom environment, your students, and your instructional practices to benefit the overall well-being of each and every one of your students and yourself. If you would like access to the Google slide presentation, that'll be in the description of this video. And just so that you are aware, the breakout room time has been removed from this recording to allow for quicker viewing so that it's just a little over an hour. I hope that you enjoy this recording. If you have follow-up questions, you can contact me. My contact information is at the end of the video and in the description. Thanks for watching. So our biggest driving question, how do we support our students' physical health, mental health, and their academic learning with these active classes? So that's kind of what we're really diving into today. And for me, I feel like these are the main things that you need to know to be able to answer that driving question. So I hope to share with you what an active classroom looks like. How much time does it take? That's always a great question and always something that we need to be aware of, because I'm very aware with being in the curriculum department, it doesn't matter if I have the best active classroom strategies in the world. If it's going to take an hour of your instructional minutes away, it's just not doable. And I would even, especially with working with the other content areas, I know how much, the importance of each and every instructional minute. And so I've designed these strategies to where they should be incorporated, and in a perfect world, it should not take any instructional minutes away. Now, I'm very obviously realistic as well, and know that anytime you start something new or try something that's new, it's obviously there's a little bit of give and take. And so, but I do know that time is very important. Obviously, with the current situation we're in, can it be done with social distancing? Some examples, and then what resources are available for you. I would hope that you would take away from this meeting knowing and understanding the 4 components of an active classroom. Again, feeling confident, being able to access those resources on your own, and then to be able to identify some best practices and strategies that will work for you at your site, because we all have our own unique environment and classroom. So I'm not going to read through these, but this is what our agenda looks like for today. That's kind of what we're going to be working ourselves through. And some of our content today is, you'll notice that it's definitely geared towards a seated environment. And I didn't want to take that away. I didn't want you to miss that, because when you're in person with your students, these are strategies that you could use. Some of it will feel silly doing it in a virtual format, but we're still going to do it because I'm a big believer in when you do it, you remember it, because a lot of us are kinesthetic learners. And so when we have an active classroom, sometimes we need other instructional strategies to get our students' attention or transition, because maybe a class, yes, isn't going to be as effective if all of our students are being active, right? So sometimes we need some other strategies in an active classroom to manage our environment. So a 2-clap system is what we use during a lot of our trainings and meetings. And so if I ask you to clap twice, even if you're muted, I would still appreciate for you to clap twice. So can I get 2 claps, please? Now I would like 2 claps and a Sheldon Cooper. So if at any time during today's training, if I say I need 2 claps and a Sheldon Cooper, you're going to clap twice. Put 2 hands on your temples, or 2 fingers on your temples, and stare just dead at me through the camera. All right. And this is even great during virtual learning, because I will self-admit that there have been Zooms before where I may click out of the Zoom and maybe check my email. I don't know, maybe multitask a little bit. And so these are also very effective in a virtual format, because it's going to allow you to make sure that you engage back in that student back into what you're doing in your Zoom. So 2 claps and a Sheldon Cooper, please. Oh, impressive. Intimidating, very, very intimidating. So now for all my Chiefs fans, 2 claps and a Travis Kelce. What that looks like is 2 claps And a point straight at me with a woo! 2 claps and a Travis Kelce, please. Thank you. These are great for in-person as well because you are getting students engaged not only physically with you as the teacher, their attention is directed towards you. You are getting them their audio, so they're not now talking to their neighbor. They're now projecting that audio towards you. And so now you've got them fully engaged on that next task that you're going to need them to participate in.
First, you have to give me a high five, then I'll tell you. What?
Oh, I love high fives. I'll do it.
Oh, I know you'll do it. But will he? All right, dumpy diapers. Up high. Nope, I don't do high fives. Slap it, boss. Not gonna happen. Party on the top floor. Nope, little slappy. Make daddy happy? That's weird. Come on, just one little high five. Oh, no, thanks, I'm good. Here, just do this, but with your hand. Thank you for that demonstration. Really cleared up exactly what I will not be doing.
Rich, it's a high five. The others lead to certain death. Get perspective.
One high five, and then you'll tell us which tunnel to take, right? So easy. Okay, fine. Too slow. Too slow? Classic. All right. I'm gonna let you slide with a fist bump. Whoop! Shark attack! Nom 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 nom. Jellyfish, ham sandwich, turkey, snowman, dolphin, helicopter, last supper, monkey in the zoo. What? Gear shift. Okay. Now can we hug?
So my favorite part about this is that we have a lot of branches in our classes. We have a lot of students that are resistant to want to go high five, hand up, pair up, and just be an easy partner up student. I also think that this would be a fun video to show our students as we're probably going to be partnering up in different ways this year, especially as we start, because a typical hand up pair up is probably not the safest at this point, right? And that's something that we've probably all just easily taken advantage of. And so I would use this video to kind of teach the skill of, we want to be a branch to start this school year when we partner up. We don't want to high five, because obviously branch is very resistant to high five the cloud guy. And so these are some strategies that I would be teaching my students to work on partnering up, because we do a lot of partnering up strategies through our trainings. We're going to be using breakout rooms instead of that, obviously, today. But if we were partnering up, I would be teaching still a hand up, because this is communicating to everyone else in the training or the classroom that I'm still looking for a partner. Eye contact is important, and I think that's important to teach our students. Then we're going to start with a name, and you'll see this so often in classrooms where they just go up, they don't communicate at all, they just go up and high five someone and expect them to want to be their partner. So in this situation, we're going to start with a name of that student and then ask, will you be my partner? And then if that partner agrees or communicates back, yeah, absolutely. Then our hand goes down to communicate to the rest of the class that we don't need a partner anymore, we're taken. But for people that are still looking, hands should still be up to help. So those are things that I would teach for a hand up, pair up instead of the actual high five. And that's something fun to show students, to kind of teach them maybe a new way to partner up. Let's see. Okay, so a fun way and here's another thing. If I'm in person, a big strategy for COVID guidelines is to not have students partnering with every other student in your room, right? We want to have homogeneous groups. So if I'm working with 1 or 2 partners in the room, that is preferred, rather than me partnering up with new people each day or 8 different partners throughout the day. So a great way to do that, to have those homogeneous groups, is to have specific partners. So what we do in my active classroom trainings in person, right now, you would be standing up looking for a partner. And once you found someone, I would tell you, this is your MVP partner. Okay, so anytime I tell you to go find your MVP partner, you would have in the past gone and high-fived that same partner. As you find that partner, you high-five, and then you're going to give a Pat Mahomes. You're going to wipe off that jersey and flex, okay? This adds just a little bit of movement to their day. It's going to engage the student in finding that partner instead of getting in trouble doing something else. They've got a little bit of movement in, and now they're ready for that next task, okay? So later today, if you get joined into a MVP breakout room, you'll start your breakout room with doing a little Pat Mahomes. So if you wouldn't mind playing along with me, can you please give me your best Pat Mahomes? Thank you. So my next favorite one, and I think this is a fun one for this year, is the Jim and Pam. Okay, especially for your secondary students who are going to know The Office. They're famous for their office high five, where they don't actually high five. So this is a great one. If you told your students to please go find your Jim and Pam, they would know exactly, once they've done that once, they know who their Jim and Pam partner is, they find that partner, and they office high five from 6 feet apart. So if you could please give me a Jim and Pam high five. And if you get joined into a Jim and Pam breakout room later, you will start off by high-fiving your other peer educators in that room. Then we have a rock, paper, scissors partner or breakout room. So this is a fun and easy partner where you're giving students, because we use partners all the time in the classroom. And so what we're doing is we're just adding a short little brain boost or movement break as we're finding those partners. This movement is going to help them remember their partners. And then in this situation, once they find their partner, they can play rock, paper, scissors from a safe distance. And now they're ready for their next task with you. And if you have a task or a partner task where one person has to go get this supply or one person has to do this first, this is a great partner because they've already decided who that first person's going to be, right? You don't have to tell them who's going to go get the scissors or yada, yada, yada. So this is a great one if you need one person from that pair to go do an individual task. And so this is a fun way to get kids engaged and involved with a little bit of movement. And so if you please would, so that we all play the same way, it's a rock, paper, scissors throw. That's the kind of RPS I am. So please, fist in hand, plate down, and rock, paper, scissors throw. So whenever you go to a rock, paper, scissors breakout room, you will play rock, paper, scissors with someone to get started, okay? So we are going to look at our current problem. We talked about how we were going to start the agenda with that. The current problem right now is that students are on a trend to be less and less active. That's just our nation and society as a whole. So 1 in 3 U.S. children are overweight or obese, and the trend is just getting worse and worse. Overweight kindergartners have also shown significantly lower math and reading scores than those at a healthy weight, and that's concerning, especially when you look at the trend of our health data in our nation and in our society. Here is our SPS data. So these are percentages. I have not gotten the last year, but I think that you can still see the trend as students get older in our elementary schools. There's a concern here. There's a problem here. And so as we look at this, I just think and data doesn't tell us the whole story, but I do think that we can take some things away from this. So I just want you to take a moment to kind of look at the trends, maybe compare that to what you've seen in your buildings. If you're at a secondary site, maybe do you see this trend continue? But this is what I noticed in my 10 years teaching elementary. I saw, because what's really neat as a specialty teacher is that you get to know those kids as kindergartners and you have them every year in their elementary experience. So I got to know kids so well for 6 years, and it just tore my heart apart that during their time with me, I saw these trends in person with kids that I loved and cared for. And when they'd come back to us, a fall festival as a 7th grader or 8th grader with their little sibling coming to my school, the trend continued, and it just broke my heart. And so, again, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm going to let you read this quote. I don't think anyone in this Zoom would disagree about the pressures that exist for educators and education as a whole. I mean, we can definitely see that now, and just the fact that the pressure to be open, just the pressure to be available, not even considering the objectives that we get pushed, that we take on. And so I think that unfortunately at sometimes when this pendulum has shifted so far that sometimes certain aspects of that whole child get left behind because of the pressures that education takes on. And then also you have to consider obviously the situation that we're in. Our students have been home for a majority of since spring break, and I'm sure that some students have been active since then, but unfortunately I think that there are a lot of students who have not had the opportunity to attend recess, to attend physical education, eat a healthy meal at school. And unfortunately, this time at home for a lot of students could have had a negative health impact on them, not only physically, but also mentally. And so I think that this is the problem that we are currently in. And I think that it's important for us, before we try to take on a new task or learn a new skill, it's important for us to understand the problem that we hope to help. And so these are the problems that I see. And so what I'm going to ask you to do now is I'm going to try to randomly assign you to a breakout room. And I would just like you to shortly discuss one thing from the problem that confirms your thinking, something that you already believed, and one thing that maybe surprised you. So it could have been from any of the data so far or any discussion point so far, one confirm, one surprise. I'm going to try to keep it, I'm going to try to do smaller breakout rooms, and I'm going to try to do a 5-minute breakout. And since this is our first breakout room, you can do a short intro, and then I will bring you back in. It should give you a 60-second timer before you come back. Are there any questions yet? You can unmute if you have any questions at this time. As we come back, we're going to look at just what research shows us. The research on active classrooms is young, but there is a lot of it, and it can be overwhelming at times. And so I tried to take just a couple pieces. Can you guys see my screen right now? No. Apologies. So research now is, I'm sure you've seen this image on the right. It's the image of brain activity after sitting quietly compared to brain activity after a 20-minute walk. And so you can see the increased brain activity immediately after a 20-minute walk. And I'm sure you've seen images similar to this before, but that is one commonly shared research around active classrooms. And then the graph on the left is showing the correlation between a student's physical fitness and achievement on a test. And so what research has shown us recently is that increased fitness levels has a high correlation with higher test scores. Here is some SPS research or data, and I'll have to explain this a little bit. So the column on the left where it says fit test, your elementary, middle, and high school PE teachers all give 4 fitness assessments. We report these to the state at 5th, 7th, and 9th grade. So these are, so what I did here in this table is the row with the 4 means that those are students that scored healthy on all 4 of their fitness assessments. And we've correlated that with attendance rate. So a 5th grader that tested all 4 fitness tests healthy has an average attendance rate of 96%. A 5th grader that tested on 0 of their 4 tests healthy has an average attendance rate of 93%. Now, when I first looked at this, I didn't think that was a big gap. I don't deal with attendance rates on a normal basis in my role. But when I shared this with Dr. Anderson and Dr. Dublin, they they tried to communicate to me on how big of a gap this is when considering a district-wide attendance rate. And what they tried to do, how they explained it to me is that 96% is about what the highest school attendance rate is. Like if they are looking at their best school attendance rate, it's right around that 96, 97 mark. And the schools with the lowest attendance rate in the district are normally around the 93%. So it's a difference between our lowest performing attendance schools and our highest. And I believe I have down, it averages about, I think about 15 days of school for a student between a 96% and a 93%. And so as you can see, it's just kind of helping us see we can't necessarily prove that a student is attending school more because they're fit compared to maybe they're more fit because they're attending school. I feel like I know which one it is, but I can't prove that. But I think that, again, data can't show us everything, but I do think that it can help us get a good picture. And then the last thing is, this is the same data here. We think research also shows us that students that are fit have less discipline issues. And again, we saw that on that first graph, higher academic achievement. So we are going to hop right into the 4 components of active classroom. I hope to share with you the 4 different components, and we're going to learn these with just a little bit of movement. And so if you would follow along with me, the first component is team building. So if you would put up a number 1, and if you would build on top of that 1. So you're building with team building. So number 1 is team building. Okay. Number 2, prepare the brain for learning. If you would take your 2 and tap it on your temple, please. So the second component of an active classroom is preparing the brain for learning. The third component is reviewing content or reinforcing learning with movement. So if you would review through the lines and hold your nail and reinforce that learning with your 3. So again, number 3, review the learning or reinforce learning with movement. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, health and wellness influencer. So we're going to put up a 4 upside down. We're running on the treadmill. Okay, health and wellness influencer, and we're eating a snack. Okay, so that's number 4, health and wellness influencer. Those are our 4 components that we're going to go through today. We're going to start with team building. I think that this is I think team building is a common strategy done by a lot of educators, especially early in the school year. I do think that it is important to continue practicing team building throughout the school year. I think that sometimes that's something that a lot of us do early in the school year, and then maybe we don't use as much as the year goes on. But team building's very important to an active classroom because it builds class cohesion and a safe learning environment. If we are not being intentional about working on these team building skills and giving students an opportunity to take risks together, they're not going to feel as safe and trusted in that space. So if we're going to ask students to do a Go Noodle dance video in between a lesson or as we're transitioning, if we haven't done any team building throughout the year, they may not feel as comfortable taking that risk of dancing in front of their peers. And so if I asked one of you to unmute and sing and dance in front of everyone, I'm pretty sure most of you would feel uncomfortable doing that, and so would students, and so would I. But if I brought you on this same Zoom with these same peer educators once a month, and we did team builders and we got to know each other better, I promise you, after so many team builders, more of you would feel comfortable, maybe not singing and dancing, but probably one or the other. And so it's very important for us to take time within our classroom to work on this team building. And it's also an opportunity for them to work on those soft skills that all employers are looking for, those C's that are so important. And then obviously, I always felt this as an educator, that students are going to be more likely to dance, be active, be silly, move, if the trusted adult in the room is doing it along with them. And I get that you have a very tough job as an educator, and a lot of times, if you're using a brain an activity break for time to go check that email, plan the next lesson. I completely understand that. But you have to understand that if you have students in the room that are not wanting to participate or not engaging in that Go Noodle video, I would feel very confident to tell you that if you started that video dancing with them, that you will get more students engaged and participating with you. Now, if every one of your students is being safe and engaging in the video, that is a great time to obviously go check that email or plan for that next activity. But I think it's important for us to know that. So we're going to try a virtual team builder, and this is called Love or Hate. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to go grab 3 things. What you need to go grab in your house is one item that you can share in front of your screen. Reminder that we're recording. One thing that you love, one thing that you hate, and to prepare for a future team builder, I want you to try to grab some type of bottle that you can flip. Okay, it doesn't have to be a water bottle. It can be a mayonnaise bottle, something plastic that won't break. Could be ketchup bottle. Could be a cup, a plastic cup you could flip. But you've all seen the students flip a milk carton in the lunchroom before, or the water bottle flip craze on social media. We are going to try a team builder with this next. And so while you are scavenging your house for a love and hate item, please grab something that you can flip in our next team builder. Don't tell. So in a second, when you come back, we're going to do a little love-hate thing. Don't tell anybody which one's love or hate when you get back. That's part of the fun. Okay? One item you love, one item you hate, something you can flip. 60 seconds and go. Seconds. I am going to start off by demonstrating, and then I'm going to send you to a breakout room, and then you're going to model that same thing in your breakout room. So what you'll do is you will start off by sharing your 2 items. You're going to just pick them up. Doesn't matter what order you do them in. And then your breakout room is going to try to guess if that's the item that you love or hate, okay, by either putting up an X if they think you hate it, okay, or a heart if they think you love it. All right, and so what we're trying to do is kind of guess if that's the item that they love or hate, and then obviously after they guess, you're going to communicate which one you love and hate, and then let somebody else go. And then just to help, if after I go, then I'm going to call on the next person to go. So I'm going to go ahead and share my 2 items. The first, sometimes if it doesn't show well in a video, you might have to communicate what it is. So this is a board game called Hi Ho Cheerio. Okay, that's my first item. And then my second item is, remember I'm girl dad, I got Don't Wake Daddy. So those are my 2 items. Start off by communicating whether you think the Don't Wake Daddy game is my love or my hate. So you're either putting up an X if you think I hate it, or a heart if you think I love this. I'm seeing a mixture. Okay, so those of you that think I hate Don't Wake Daddy, you are correct. The daddy that wakes up scares the crap out of me. Every time when you hit the alarm clock and he wakes up, it scares me every time, and my daughter loves it. I hate Don't Wake Daddy, even though we play it all the time. And Hi Ho Cheerio, I love because it's quality time with me and my daughter, and she's working on her math. So I would call on the next person to go. I think we can get this done in about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes max, but if you get done with your group, I think you're able to come join the main group again, and we'll save some time if you're all done. So I'm going to push you to breakout rooms. Any questions? That's the goal of a team builder. Love or hate is something that you can do multiple times because the items can change. It's also something that can be as long or as short as you want to. I remember the first time I did this, it was in a meeting where we did it whole group, and it took like 30 to 45 minutes to do it. But if you want it to be quick, you can just break out rooms where they're all in pairs, where they each share with just a partner, and it can take as little as 5 minutes. Or, I mean, you just did it in 5 minutes with a group of 5, and so if you did it with 2 people, it would be even less. So just a simple virtual team builder. We are now going to try a flip challenge. And so what's going to happen on this is, obviously the goal is to be able to flip your bottle and land it on its base, okay? And this could be something you could do virtually or in person. I know that we're encouraging all students to bring their own water bottles because the water fountains are closed. And so I bet there's going to be water bottles all over your rooms, unfortunately. But there's lots of different ways to do this. First thing you want to do is make sure your lid's closed, because I just spilled mine. Second thing you're going to want to do is earn a flip. So you can't just start flipping. You have to earn the opportunity to flip. So you have to do 2 jumping jacks to earn an opportunity to flip. And so you can do 2 jumping jacks and flip once. You can do 10 jumping jacks and get 5 flips in a row. And so there's a little fun strategy involved. If you complete your flip challenge, then you are going to unmute yourself and cheer on someone that you see flipping or complete a successful flip. Okay? Or if you're one of those super competitive people, you can see how many you can get in 1 minute. So I'm going to put on a 1-minute timer and music. While you hear the music, you are going to see how many flips you can get. Again, if you want to play along the way that it's prescribed for students, you're going to do 2 jumping jacks to earn a flip. If you don't feel comfortable doing jumping jacks, you can just flip your bottle until your heart's just so happy and get as many as you can. Are you ready? Do you have enough space? I'm just going to do mine on my floor. Does everyone gets the flip, right? Okay. Here we go. When the music starts, we'll see how competitive we are today. And you just trying to catch a good time. Even if it takes all night. Yeah, we pick it on the guitar.
Did you say we unmute once we get one?
Yes, and then you can cheer somebody on.
Okay. Go pass out. That's a really big container. You did it! Good job, Lashana.
I got 1.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Thank you for playing along. So that's a really quick way to get their oxygen going through their brain. A lot of quick movement. They're not worried about the jumping jacks. Like, no one likes doing jumping jacks. But when the purpose is not to do the jumping jacks, the purpose is to flip the bottle, they're so concerned about the bottle, they're not even thinking about the exercise of the movement. Something that they can do stationary at their desk safely. And they can do the bottle flip on their desk or on the floor. If they've got Chromebook stuff going on, they can easily do the flip from the floor. Once you've taught this, you can say it's flip challenge time. You can throw up the slide, and there's not a whole lot of directions that have to be given. And so activities that you can repeat and don't take instructional minutes away from you are always a win. Hopefully you had that reaction. Whenever a kid lands a flip, it's always like that celebration moment of yes. And so that never hurts to go into an activity with a little extra confidence. And then there are also fun ways to do this as a whole team. If you have this would be a little harder with social distancing in mind, but what we would have done if we were in person is we would have been using cones. Cones are another fun way to do the flip challenge, and so you can go borrow those from your PE teacher. They always have cones. And I like spreading them around the corners of the room. And me and my partner are working together. And while I'm flipping at a hula hoop in a corner, my partner is cheering me on. So this is really what brings in the team building aspect. So I'm flipping the cone as many times as I can until I get it flipped where it lands on the base while my partner is encouraging me and cheering me on. As soon as I land it, we run to the next corner or move safely to the next corner of the classroom, and now my partner is flipping, and now I'm encouraging them and cheering them on. The goal is to get all the way around to all 4 corners, and then I usually have like a tiny cone or a big cone right in the middle of the classroom where once they've made it all the way around, that's where they're trying to finish and win and be the first group to be done. So that's where you see encouraging. You see a little bit more movement because they're moving around the classroom, but it's still a safe activity, and cones are something that are really easy to go borrow from your classroom. I know that that is not going to be ideal for social distancing, and so that's why we did the water bottle adaptation where they can do it safely from their desk. Another one that I'm just going to show you is the hula hut challenge. This is one of my PE teachers' favorite team building activities where you go borrow hula hoops. The students have to build that hula hut together, so they're working together as a team of group of 3 or 4 students, and building the hula hut like this PE teacher's doing on the left is not as easy as it looks. And then you can give them other challenges like crawl through it, carrying it. There's lots of different fun things that you can do. But if you really want to like challenge your students, this is a great one because all PE closets have hula hoops, and if you ask your PE teacher nicely, I bet they will let you use them. And you can just stack 4, or it actually takes 6 hula hoops, but you can do like however many groups you want. You just need 6 hula hoops per group. And so that's another one that we've done in seated trainings before. So what we're going to try now is an active classroom Kagan strategy. And so you've probably done round robin before, but you've probably never done round robin in a plank position. And so we're going to try a round robin Kagan structure while you're in a plank position. So what this will look like, okay, is when I send you to a breakout room, you are going to get into a plank position, okay? And you are going to share while you're in plank position which image best describes your experience doing team builders in your classroom. So you've probably tried them before, and if you haven't, you can make that connection. Like I've never tried that yoga pose, and I've never tried yoga or team builders in my classroom before, but you're gonna try to explain which picture best describes your experience with team builders in your classroom while you're in the plank position, and then everyone in your group is going to communicate. What I love about this strategy is that if you have those classes where when it's their turn to talk, they talk for 2 minutes, they won't do that with this strategy. They are going to figure out how to be concise and accurate and short with their communication because they don't want to be in a plank for 5 minutes, right? So this should be a short breakout room. Once everyone in your group has explained, you're going to thank your group and come back to the main room. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable with the plank, just go to a breakout room. You can still communicate if you don't have the space, same thing. But if you're like me and you're a kinesthetic learner, I would invite you to participate and have some fun with this. Any questions for me before I send you? Welcome back. Hopefully no one got hurt and you got some discussion. I think what I've tried to do with teachers that I've planned a little bit around active classroom is how can we add movement to things that teachers are already doing? And so Kagan classroom structures are the collaboration, discussions. Those things are things that a lot of you are already doing. And so how can we add just a little bit of movement to that? So that way you're not learning a completely new tool or strategy. Students probably already know what a round robin looks like. And so if we add a plank to it one day and then we again ask our students to get in a round robin plank, it's probably going to be just like a hand up, pair up, where students are going to start to learn these simple strategies. And I think that this is one easy way to do it. There's lots of variations of this, but this is one way. Can you guys see my slideshow right now? No? You guys see yourselves. There we go. So let's review. Number 1 was what? Number 1 component was, thank you, team building. Okay. Number 2, preparing the brain for learning. Okay. So here we are trying to help our students kind of prepare their concentration, their focus on that next instructional task that you're giving them. And so you know best as a teacher when those chunks of time are where you really need your students best. And we should be intentionally planning some movement or brain, what I like to call boost. A lot of times in the industry, they get called brain breaks. And for me, let's call it what it is. It's a brain boost. It's not giving our brain a break. And unfortunately, I think that's one of the most common errors of an active classroom is a teacher will push to get through some important content. And man, you guys just worked hard for 45 minutes. Let's take a brain break. And now let's have them move. And really, we didn't take full advantage of that 5-minute brain break. If we would have done that 5-minute brain boost prior to that chunk of time, our students would have been more focused, engaged, and higher brain activity, and we would have gotten more out of those instructional minutes that those 45 minutes. So you can see the table of Eric Jensen's recommended amount of direct instruction. Another, what I've also heard is the age. And so I know I can't make it 34 minutes of indirect instruction in a row, but I try my best. But you think about the age of your students or where they fit in, and a lot of times we're asked to go way beyond that, right? Many of our lessons have to go way beyond the age of our student. And so how can we add these little movement strategies within our instructional strategies where we don't have to maybe take a 5-minute brain boost to get that minute in or to prepare our students' brain for learning? Maybe it's one of those partner strategies that we've already tried or that we shared where we're using partner all the time. Why don't we just add a little movement to them partnering up and we can keep learning? And then again, being better at intentionally planning our brain boost. So knowing your day, knowing when to put that short brain boost in. It can be as simple as in their seat, if you wouldn't mind, this is called nose and ears. So you're going to take one hand, grab your opposite earlobe, take the opposite hand and pointer finger on your nose. Okay, everyone's good? Switch, please. Okay, that was a little harder than you thought, wasn't it? Switch. Switch. It's even harder to do it when you're presenting. Switch. Okay, so something as simple as that is helping your students prepare their brain for learning. They're engaging both sides of the brain. You can have them stand up and do it. I don't want anyone to think that an active classroom means that we're running a boot camp or that we have to be running 20-minute workouts or even 5-minute brain boost dance videos all the time. That's not what an active classroom is. An active classroom is an environment that is caring for the entire whole child and knows the benefit of even a short nose and ear before they dive into that deep direct instruction. So some other examples of those partner strategies, these are examples I've used in the past. These are not great for social distancing, but these are some other things. If you can say, go find your ice cream partner, they high five, then someone makes the cone, the next partner puts down the first scoop of ice cream, the next partner has another scoop, and then another scoop. Primary kids love that. And once they've made their ice cream cone, their eyes are on their teacher. Selfie partner, this is when secondary students love finding that partner and taking a selfie before their next direction. But again, another way to find that quick partner. So that way, sometimes, I'm sure you've all experienced, you tell your students to partner up and it somehow takes 5 minutes. Why did it take 5 minutes to find a partner? I don't know. But if they already know who their selfie partner is, and you say, go find your selfie partner, that is quick because they know who their selfie partner is. They can be silly. They can get a little bit of movement in, and now they're focused back in on the task. And then an interview partner is one of my favorite because it's teaching students that awkward, focused eye contact that I always tell them, you don't want to be the first person to look away. And so you get those students to handshake and introduce themselves very formally. And it's just that soft skill that we all want our students to learn. Again, these 3 are not great with COVID in mind, but 3 that are fun for you to add to your toolbox. This or that. This is probably, if you were to take one resource away from today's training, this is what I would send you with. It's something that you can use in so many different ways, so easily with Google, and it can be as short as a 10-second prepare brain for activity, or it can be as long as you want it to. And so in a this or that, there's going to be an image or a GIF on each side and then a prompt above it. The students are answering the prompt with movement, okay? And so let me give you an example. So which do you prefer? There have been images added to the top, and for this would be an example for primary. You don't have to have the images. And so the students are going to answer not by shouting out, "Oh, I love dogs," but they're going to answer with their movement, okay? So this is called a this or that. And you'll have this resource available to you. And what I love is that you can change the prompt so easy. You can change the answers so easy. And you can continue with the GIFs that have already been provided. Or if you want to have some fun, you can grab some off the internet. You can make GIFs of yourself or of your principal. You can have as much fun with this as you want. So if you please would, get some space. You know I wasn't going to, you know we got to try this a little bit, okay? I know we've already got a couple cat lovers. I've already seen a couple cats on this Zoom. Dorsey, I did not know you were a cat person. So I'm going to go through this or that, and you're just going to answer the prompt with your movement, okay? Here we go.
Cheated and I lie. I broke down and I cried. Got nothing to hide no more. I've heard making people down with words. More grace than I deserve, for sure. Known to be crazy, known to be wild. Mama had herself a little devilish child. No stranger to the troubles at my door. I've been at the wrong place at the wrong time, chasing all the wrong things most of my life. And every kind of loss that you can't find, but I got one thing right. Been the kind of guy girls mamas don't like.
Thank you for playing along. So it can be as short as that. It can be even shorter. It can be so simple. And you can see how some of these components can kind of cross into each other. Like that is a little bit of a team builder if they're learning more about their peers. Like if Dorsey learned, hey, there are some other friends in my class that love cats. Or, you know, and then you can also use it as and we'll talk about this more in detail later, but also as a little formative assessment. So I just learned that a lot of you find that these can be challenging because of transitions. So it's an easy way for me to collect some information with giving my students an opportunity for movement. And how often are we using Google Slides? And how easy would it be with your Google slide for your content that day to add 2 this or that slides prior to them expecting to sit and focus in on you, okay? And so that is an example of intentionally planning. I know I need my students focused during this time. I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of movement prior to that, and this or that is a great way to do that. This is a seated in-person example. This is called hot or cold or fire and ice. And so what this looks like, I think this can be used a lot with a group activity or an activity where you need supplies for a group project. So let's say you're getting ready to do a group project and you need that one student to go get scissors for the group or Post-it notes for the group. And what you're going to do is, let's say you have your pods of 4. You're going to have one person in each group close their eyes or shut their eyes so that they can't see. Then you as the teacher are going to hide that group's supplies in random spots in the classroom. Okay, so maybe I hide those Post-it notes or those scissors somewhere where that one student that closed their eyes doesn't know, but the other 3 in the group know. Okay, so then when it's time to play, those 3 students in that group are trying to communicate and help that student that had their eyes closed where that supply is by moving their feet. So you've probably all played that game, hot or cold, as a kid, where you're grandma or grandpa are telling you hotter or colder, well, the students are doing that by how fast their feet are moving. So if a student moves and they guess which way to go and they're getting closer, the students are going to start running in place a little faster. If they get really close, they're going to start running as fast as they can. Or if they're getting farther away from the supply that's needed, they're going to move slow motion. So it's a fun way to kind of get those supplies needed for that next task by adding a little bit of team building and movement. And they can do that safely from their desk. So just an example of, again, how to add movement to tasks that we know we'll have to do throughout the year. So here is another Kagan structure on steroids. So in this timed pair share, I'm going to attempt, if I can do it right, to put you in breakout rooms where you just have a pair, where you just have a partner, okay? You and your partner are going to answer these questions on the right. Which activity could you see yourself trying that fits your space as a preparing brain for learning activity? What changes would you have to make to fit your scenario? Because we all have unique situations. And then which one was your favorite team builder that you might try at the beginning of the year? So if you wouldn't mind answering those 3 questions, if I am partner B and I'm answering those questions, my partner is going to be doing an exercise of their choice while I'm communicating. Okay, so if partner A doesn't mind doing jumping jacks, they're going to do jumping jacks while I'm answering my 3 questions. Then when I'm done answering, then I'm going to switch. Okay, then partner A is going to answer the 3 questions, and then I get to pick my exercise of my choice, picking an exercise that I'm comfortable with, keeping in mind that I'm not going to pick an exercise like running in circles around my partner. That would be a little distracting while trying to answer questions, so it's a stationary movement or exercise. Okay, are there any questions? Hopefully nobody's sweating yet, but I hope that you notice. I know you've been through lots of Zooms this last 3 or 4 months. I hope that you're noticing maybe a little bit of difference in your own mental capacity to focus compared to a meeting where you just have to sit and grind through without getting up, without having a little bit of movement. And so I hope that you start to notice a little bit of the difference. What I love about this one is that, again, this is easy for a student to learn as long as they're just not being disrespectful with the exercise that they choose. But how many times have you seen at any level a timed paired share where partner B is trying to give them meaningful feedback and partner A just is not paying attention, they're not being a good listener? And so I think the most constructive feedback I would get on this strategy was, doesn't that make you a distracted listener? Well, if you pay attention to how students listen without this strategy, it's not like they're being great listeners to start with. And so I don't think that we're making the situation worse. And some of them are actually more engaged because they want to know when that partner's done so that they can stop their exercise. And so they're listening like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? And then what I also really like about this for the secondary level is, at least in health classrooms that I've visited, when teachers try a paired share sometimes and they give them 60 seconds to discuss, the partner gives a 1-line answer to the prompt and that's it. It's not very deep. It's not very meaningful. It's a short answer, and they're not really diving deep into that prompt. And what I have found with this strategy, and it's kind of a little ornery, but they know that their partner has to exercise while they're talking. And so they seem to try to continue to talk to make their partner exercise a little longer. And so now all of a sudden we have more conversation going, and the students are looking for more ways to communicate how to answer that prompt instead of just that short 1-liner that doesn't cover much. And so I would encourage you to try this. And there's way, if you feel like your students couldn't handle the choice, you can give them two options that, like I was doing lunges because I feel like that allows me to continue to have eye contact. And it's pretty stationary, but there are definitely some exercises that would not allow me to be as good of a listener as I wanted to. So that, there's a couple teachable points there. And if you don't trust your students to do that, you can give them some choices on exercise. But again, a strategy that students and teachers already know. We're just adding a little bit of movement to it. Next, number 3. Anybody remember number 3? Okay, we're reviewing content and reinforcing the learning with movement. Okay, so movement has always been a big part of learning. And so in this stage or component of an active classroom, we are intentionally using movement as the design to actually teach the learning objective. And so, like, for example, I am using movement as a strategy to get you to remember the 4 components of an active classroom. And so that was something that was thought of prior to that. I'm going to add a movement to each one of these 4 components, and I hope that that helps my audience remember them. And so this is being intentional with the actual instruction or teaching of the standard or learning objective. We've already done this a little bit, but movement used as a quick formative assessment is a powerful tool. There's lots of ways to do that. It doesn't have to be a this or that. And then you've already witnessed a couple Kagan learning structures that can possibly adding movement to that. You know, if you taught a concept and now you're adding movement to a Kagan where they're reinforcing the learning, that is powerful as well. So here is an example. I just want to show you a couple examples. You don't have to do these exercises right now, but here's a way that you could use a this or that to reinforce learning or to do a quick formative assessment. So factor opinion, obviously. A little math, an easy way to take that math concept for the day and to include it into a this or that to, you know, if you were doing a numbers talk, or you could easily add this in at the end or middle of a presentation to do a quick formative and add that movement in. A science lab, easy way, instead of everyone shouting out, yes, it's gonna float, yes, it's gonna float, instead of everyone shouting, let's add some movement. And let's add a little bit of structure and give that brain some oxygen, okay? Another ELA example. And again, you can control these gifts. If you know your class the best and you know that they're just love dancing, you use more of those dance gifts. If you, in the beginning of the year, if they're not quite comfortable dancing yet, you know, use some more simple exercise gifts. I would love seeing your class do these 2 gifts. Primary example, if you know your students can't read much, this is, you know, using more images and trying to get students to, you know, with word association. And so this is another favorite of mine in person, and I've never tried it virtually before, but we're going to give it a go. What's going to happen is I'm going to send you to another breakout room where you're just with a partner, okay? If you don't have access to the slideshow, this is definitely going to be a breakout room where you're probably going to want to access this slide. And so we are on slide 52 right now. And the link to the slideshow is in the chat box. And once I get you somewhere, I'll put it in there in the broadcast again. I think I can do that. But what's going to happen, excuse me, is you're going to play rock, paper, scissors with your partner in your breakout room. Let's see. Alicia, will you play with me real quick to model? Okay, ready? Rock. Oh. Is there 2 Alicias? Alicia, can you unmute?
Sorry, I was pulling up the slide on my computer, and then I couldn't get back to the video screen, so I was like, wait.
I'm so glad that person you just emailed got a quick response.
No, I swear I was pulling up the slide.
All right, so me and Alicia are going to play rock, paper, scissors. I'm just teasing, Alicia. Ready?
I know.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, so we tie. We need to go again. I need to show it in front of the camera. Ready?
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, my scissors cuts her paper, so I get to ask Alicia the question. So I get to ask Alicia the question, and I won with scissors, so I have to ask Alicia, what is one way you would incorporate movement into your teaching? She's going to answer that question, and then we would play again. If I win again, I get to ask Alicia another question. So we're using the rock, paper, scissors boxes to get more information and to reinforce the learning that just happened. Okay? Any questions about this strategy? As young as first grade. Now, you might have to adapt this for your wonder years or kindergarten or even first grade. Instead of having a bunch of different options for questions, you could just have, this is the question that you ask, or you get to ask a question and maybe make it a team builder the first time you use this. But all the way up until my adult meetings, this is a great way to, get discussion, reinforce the learning. And then you can also, the best way to use this, in my opinion, is once you've asked a question, then you go find a new partner and ask and play somebody different. Obviously, that doesn't go well with COVID right now. And so using that one partner, go find your Jim and Pam, and you're just going to stay with Jim and Pam to review and reinforce the learning. Again, this is something you can make as short as you want to. This can be a 2-minute thing, a 3-minute thing. You can, this is an ELA example. So if they just read a text and you wanted some discussion or review on that ELA text, you could use this structure where they're getting up. Are they exercising? No. Are they going to be sweating after this? No. But there is movement involved, and they're using both sides of their brain, and this is going to help them with their next task. And this is another fun thing to do. What I like to do with adults is to use one of these boxes as a team builder question. So you can have 2 boxes of content review and then 1 box of what would you do if you won the lottery. And so there's a little bit of team builder involved with reinforcing that learning. And so again, another Google slide you will have access to and easily to adapt. I am not a Kagan expert. You are probably much more, you probably have way more Kagan structures in your toolbox than I do. And so I am excited to see what Kagan structures you can add movement to. I know that the mix freeze group is an easy way when you throw on music and they mix and you stop the music and they partner up with somebody new. Obviously not great for COVID, but that involves movement. There are probably several other structures that you can add movement to. We've already done the time, compare, share and the round robin. Another fun one would be if you got in groups of 3 or 4 and each time it was your turn to share, you did the sit up to share. So I crunch, or I get in the sit up position, I share my answer, and then I lay back down, and we're going in the group around that way. Lots of fun things that you can do with Kagan and movement. Number 4. Anybody remember number 4? Remember the action for number 4? Excellent. So we're running treadmill and eating a snack. So health and wellness influencer. So this is one that I think a lot of times gets forgotten, but I think it's an important part of an active classroom. And so every active classroom has a trusted adult that is going to be advocating not only for their students, but themselves and their personal health and fitness. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be hitting CrossFit 5 days a week. We're talking little things. We're talking always keeping the students' health as a priority. So not taking away recess for behavior or academic actions, okay? We're not using exercise or recess as that consequence, because we don't want exercise to have a negative feeling. We don't want to use that as a behavior or consequence, because now all of a sudden we're tying exercise to a negative consequence. If we know that recess break is going to benefit their academic learning afterwards, then if we are withholding that recess because of a behavior, we are in turn putting them at a disadvantage for that coming learning. Now, I understand that there are very appropriate reasons to withhold recess. Obviously, if a student cannot be safe, or if they're at risk to harm another student at recess, we have to take action. Our job is to keep everybody safe. But at the elementary level, I have seen too many times over and over again where recess is being withheld inappropriately. And so someone that is keeping their students' health as a priority is going to use that as a last resort. And then another thing that sometimes gets forgotten is, obviously with the weather of Missouri, we unfortunately are forced to inside recess too often. And are we giving some creative movement opportunities during indoor recess? Okay, let's not just turn it into another four corners where they've got four stations. Let's give. We're never going to force students to be active at recess, but we should have an option for those students that need it. And whether that's doing a Go Noodle video or a team builder, it's a great time to do a team builder. Like a hula hut activity would be an indoor recess. But just giving some type of movement opportunity during an indoor recess is another great example. And then supporting your physical education teacher. Keep in mind that, especially at the elementary level, 60 minutes a week is not enough time for our students to really be pursuing their best selves. And so if they're only getting 60, and oh my goodness, with COVID and the hybrid schedule, now we're only getting 30 minutes, let's do our best to not schedule a field trip during that time, or working with the music teacher where our program practice is not during that PE time, because they're not getting enough as it is. So let's be the advocate for our students to make sure that we're not scheduling things, or other people in our building are scheduling things during their specialty time, during their PE time. And that's just part of being an influencer. Another thing that's very commonly done in an active classroom is sending home a physical activity calendar with ideas of things that they could do each day. And I created those for the fourth quarter, and those were sent home in the packets. And I have some of those resources available for you, and where they can easily be adapted. But those are things that you can send home in your Friday folders to encourage not only students, but families to be active together. And then we've got some calendars that also give healthy snack ideas. So there are little things that you can do as a teacher to influence the overall health of your students. And then obviously, what can we do to model those healthy choices? Or, no one's perfect. I struggle with coffee and Coke Zero. Those are my two indulgences, and I have been known to drink some Coke Zero from time to time in front of students. And if I were to do that again, if I were to relive my first 10 years as an educator, it's something as simple as pouring my Coke Zero in a cup where students don't know I'm drinking a soda. They're not seeing their trusted adult indulging in that unhealthy snack or that unhealthy drink, that unhealthy beverage. There are things that we can do to hide those unhealthy choices from our students, because they don't need that. They don't need that one person that they look up to be modeling that unhealthy choice. And is a Coke Zero going to is that a big deal? No, but I think these little things add up. And so if you can model that drinking water, if you can hide that unhealthy choice, I think that goes a long way. So, any questions about the wellness or health influencer? That was number 4. This is kind of our culminating activity coming up. This is another Kagan structure called carousel feedback. I'm going to send you to a breakout room with a group now. And what you are going to do is your group is going to get a component. So your group should have a number. You should be like breakout room 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so whatever number you are, that's going to be what component you are. So if you're in breakout room number 1, you're the team building group. And what you're going to do, I'm going to give you access to this slide deck, and you are going to work together on kind of adding some strategies. If you can't think of any on your own, you can add strategies that we've covered today. But what would be really awesome is if you add strategies that you've done or examples that you've done on team building that maybe weren't shared today. And then don't forget to, when you've added your strategies and examples, please add one exercise to your slide, because if you're familiar with the carousel, in a little bit when we're done, we're going to be reviewing each other's slides, and then we're adding that movement to our Kagan structure, So before I will send a broadcast. I'm going to give you 3 or so minutes to work on your slide, 3 to 5 minutes to work on your slide, and then I'm going to send out a message. When I send out the message, if you haven't already, you're going to stop creating, and then you're going to go review the other 3 slides. And I'll send you a message when it's time to do that. So you've created it, you get the message, it's time to go review. So if we're team building group, we're going to look at this slide together, and we're going to look at Prepare Brain for Learning, what they came up with. We're going to do their exercise, and then we're going to move to the next slide. So we're reviewing the other 3 components. We're just going to do 1 exercise per slide. Please keep in mind that your peers don't want to do 100 jumping jacks, so let's be nice to each other. All right, Dorsey, be nice. And once you're done reviewing, you may you have edit access. If you've done the same thing, you can add a comment to it by using the Google comment feature. You can highlight something that you really love. Make this a collaborative group approach. You know, you think about if you've done this in person, you can write on the Post-it paper, you can highlight something or circle something that you agree with. We're just flipping that into a virtual Google slide. Okay, I just threw a lot of directions at you. I'm going to put you in a breakout room. The number is what component you are, 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're going to fill out the Google slide for your slide. You're going to wait for the broadcast message, and then you're going to go, and if you're finished before you get the broadcast message, go ahead and start reviewing. You're going to go review the other slides and do the exercise. I know that you probably needed a little bit more time to complete that activity as a whole. So I apologize for that. We are running close to our 11 o'clock time. So I am going to just kind of recap this. If I were to do this again, I would have allowed a little bit more time for this. I probably would have chunked it better to where I gave you directions just to complete the Google slide, and then we would do directions for review next, because that was a lot of directions for anyone. The one thing I wanted to clarify, the exercise part of the slide would be what students would add to their collaborative, whatever they're working on their Google slide. The exercise is what they're adding for the groups that are going to then come and review their slide. That those groups are going to do that exercise after they review their slide before they go review the next slide. So it's just a modeling a way to add a little bit of movement into a group collaborative project with Google or any type of PowerPoint. Or if you did it in person and you have the big white poster paper and they're reviewing everyone else's work, just having students add that 1 exercise to add movement, and kids like being able to create that movement opportunity for each other. So I'm sorry that we didn't have more time for that, but I hope that you get a feel for what that active classroom or that carousel feedback would look like with movement. And I understand that it is 11 o'clock. We are probably about 5 minutes away, but if anyone needs to leave, please feel free to do that. But I would love to finish for those of you that have the time to stick around. And so I'm just going to finish with some best practices. If we want to motivate students to be active, we have to give them some choice, because if you just tell students or adults exactly what movement to do, it's only going to be successful for so long. And so giving some students some choice on how they move is always going to help. That kind of goes along with voice, you know, giving students an opportunity to maybe choose what they, or maybe giving you feedback on what they like to do, on how to use those gifts or indoor movement opportunities. And then a variety. I think this is what is an Achilles heel for some active classrooms, to where we find something that works and then we just do it, and then it gets old for students. We have to have variety, because if we overdo something, we all know what happens with kids is they lose interest, and then we don't get the benefit that we're looking for. And then again, we talked about this a little bit about earlier. I would really challenge you to look at your schedule, look at your daily schedule. Where do you have the biggest need for your students' direct attention? Please be intentional about planning how you're going to include movement in the middle, or before, or both. Okay? Don't take these awesome resources and wait until you're done with an activity and then add movement. We've got to embed that within where it's going to benefit our kids the most. Common barriers, transitions obviously is a huge one. I hear a lot of, I tried the awesome this or that with the dances, but then it took us 5 minutes to get into the next task. And so the thing that I always preach is that it's not going to be perfect or great right away, just like anything else. It's something that we have to practice. It's something that it's going to get better as we go. And as long as we lay out those expectations, just like you would with anything else in your classroom, students can have fun in a controlled way. They do it twice a week for 30 minutes or at the secondary level in their PE classes all the time. If it's brand new, if they've never danced before in your classroom, it could be a little chaotic right away. But if we set down the ground rules and if it becomes a norm and it becomes a consistent thing, that it is doable to dance and then get right back on task with instruction. It will take some practice if it's never been done before. But what's great for you is if you start off the year with this active classroom mindset and you actually tell your students, we are going to be in an active classroom and this is why, here are the benefits. I think that's a reason students would want to come back to school. And if they know that if we can't handle this active classroom strategy, then we're obviously not gonna be able to do it again. And so these are things that, you know, we have to be thinking about the space that we're using. Safety has to be a priority. And so again, routine, consistency, and you know, with the transitions, if we plan those out, if we know we're going to have a partner strategy at this point in our class and we just go straight to the find your MVP partner, where again, we're adding movement without a big transition. If we find ways to embed it in, we have less transitions and more instruction time. Your resources, these are, so right here on the gray box is a Google link to a folder. Right now, I have the resources organized in the 4 components. So if you are looking for a team builder, you can click on the team builder Google folder and it's going to give you some ideas. Here are 2 websites that I've been using a ton to add GIFs to my presentations. So I heard a lot about this or that today. If you want to kind of personalize that and add your own fun little dance or exercise GIFs, these are 2 great where you just copy and paste them right into Google. So hopefully you will, you know, have a great opportunity here to find specifically what you're looking for. It can be overwhelming. There are tons of brain boost, tons of ways to teach with movement. And so I've tried to organize it into a way where you can find what you're looking for. So let's review real quick. Let's see if we can remember and go through them all. 1, what we got? What's 1? Team builder. 2, prepare the brain for learning. 3, we're reviewing that content, reinforcing the learning with movement. And 4, health and wellness influencer. So I hope.
I'll keep my hands up for you,
Oops.
okay? Let me go. 2, 3. Feet left. Okay, now one thing, guys,
You'll get to see it again.
I'll keep my hands up for you, okay? Let me go. 2, 3. Feet left. Okay, now one thing, guys, and you wait.
So if these divers are you and going back to school and trying some active classroom strategies, I'd like you just to self-process which diver do you feel like you are. Are you the mom diver? Are you ready to go and gonna handle it with skill and grace and little splash? Are you the big brother that had 100% confidence, didn't nail it exactly, but jumped right in there? Or are you the toddler that was whining and screaming right away like, no, but you know what? He did jump in, didn't he? And so I think the important thing is when you try to implement some of these active classroom strategies, if you are any of the 3 divers, if you jump in to try some of these things, you will have these 5 benefits of an active classroom. You're going to have motivated and engaged learners. You're going to see improved student behavior. You're going to have stronger class cohesion. You're going to be reducing the stress and anxiety of your students and yourself if you're participating, because we know that movement does that. You're going to improve your students' concentration and academic performance, and who wouldn't want these 5 benefits for their classroom and their students? And so I encourage you to jump in the pool, dive in the pool, even if you belly flop. I would love to hear about your success this year, and I hope that you walk away understanding the 4 components, feeling confident to access those resources, and to implement some strategies in your own classroom. And I know that there are so many things that are out of our control this year. I mean, there's never been a year like this. I know that there are going to be several things that are going to take a higher priority, and they should, whether it be mask, whether it be distancing. And I am very aware of that. But I just want you to make sure that you are focusing on the things that you can control and the things that matter to you. And I know that you're here because you care about your kids and you care about the overall health and well-being of your kids. And I think that creating an active classroom climate and environment is one great way to care for that whole child. So